Welcome, lovers of the beautiful game, football fans from around the world. George the Metellus alongside Drake Cordero. It is time
What is good?
for Sports Burst. And woo, do we have some topics for the people today? A little bit of controversy in terms of the U.S. Women's Player of the Year. Neymar is in court again. And we're going to preview some La Liga matchups this weekend ahead of the Clásico, which will take place December 18th here on beIN Sports. So get ready. We want to hear your comments here on our beIN Sports USA Facebook page. Sports Burst starts now.
Did you call it Space Burst?
I think Space Burst, yeah.
Change the graphics.
Yeah, it's Space Burst. We
It's
should
Space
call it
Burst for now.
Space Burst. The new LeBron James basketball movie with all the Disney, with Bugs Bunny and all them. Space Burst, yeah.
You'll get it out
I'll get it out eventually, yeah. English wasn't my goodest subject in school, you know.
How dare you mess up Space Jam?
Yeah, I know Space Jam is a classic. All right, George Metellus alongside Drake Cordero. We want to hear from you. Send us your comments here on our Facebook USA page. All right, let's get right into it. A little bit of controversy. The U.S. Women's Player of the Year, U.S. Soccer Women's Player of the Year is Julie Ertz.
Yeah.
Not Megan Rapinoe.
Yes. First and foremost, congratulations, Julie Ertz. Before
Okay.
we start tearing down individual honors like we do every single time.
Okay, tell us why
well-
Julie Ertz deserves it. I think she deserves it too, but tell us why.
So deserved for me is not something that just one player can claim to deserve an individual honor. Like there are some seasons where you say, well, this person was so far and above removed from everybody else's level that there's no question, right? So it's not something that is mutually exclusive to deserve it. And I
Okay.
think when you understand how this particular award is voted on, you get a little more respect for Julie Ertz winning it. This
Right.
is voted on by the players that got caps for the U.S. women's national team in 2019, the NWSL coaches, a few administrators and bureaucrats, a few members of the press get in there as well, some former players. But this is very much an award given to her by her peers.
Right.
And here you have a player who had played, I think, the third most minutes for the U.S. in a World Cup winning year, who was
most
a
matches,
key
yeah.
part of the World Cup. So I think is it deserved? It's absolutely deserved for Julie Ertz.
Yeah, Julie Ertz played the most games this year by any U.S. national team player, played more minutes and more games in the World Cup than Megan Rapinoe as well. And we always look at goals and things like that as a stat to maybe give a person an award more than the other person. But she didn't have the stats because she's a defensive player, but because she was in the lineup so consistently and she was so strong, that you have to give her credit. And I think, as you mentioned, because of the criteria, her peers understood that and gave her the award, so congratulations.
Nor
to her.
was, if we want to bring up Megan Rapinoe, and obviously I understand why we bring it up. She won the women's Ballon d'Or. She won FIFA the
Yep.
best. Rapinoe did, and she was the golden boot, the golden ball winner at the Women's World Cup. Which, by the way, Julie Ertz didn't crack the top 20 in, which is, I think it tells you more about how that list was compiled than anything, because she absolutely was not even top 5, top 10. She didn't make the top 20, Julie Ertz, and she is the 2019 U.S. Women's Athlete of the Year. But Megan Rapinoe wasn't playing consistent club football either. I think
Right.
it's one of those things where, remember James, the breakout campaign that he had at the World Cup in Brazil, 7 games, and it marked James's entire career.
Right.
That stage does something to skew a full year's worth of play. And I think that's why some people would say, well, how can Megan Rapinoe be the Ballon d'Or winner, the FIFA the best winner, the World Cup Ballon d'Or winner, and not get the U.S. Athlete of the Year, which is supposed to be even more specific, just down to forget CONCACAF, but just the United States.
And don't forget that Julie Ertz got to the NWSL final with the Chicago Red Stars. The Reign FC, Megan Rapinoe's team, did not get to that same point. So they put into account the fact that she got to the NWSL final with Chicago Red Stars as well. She was an important defender for that team that got to the
Voted by her
final.
peers, George. That's
Yeah,
what matters.
and they know. They've seen her in practice. They've seen her play. They understand her importance. Okay, let's get to some of the comments here because I'm sure some people got something to say. All right, Brendan Burns. How's it not Rapinoe? She was like the best in the entire world. Okay, Brendan.
Already did that argument.
We're all done. Eliana Hyman says, well deserved with a heart. Yeah, true. That's true. Bob Flickema says, Julie Ertz is their best overall player. Started at center back, moved to holding mid. She is devastating in the middle.
Yeah, tough as nails, aggressive.
Yes, absolutely. Rich Murray says, exactly. Please ask Kaylin about this. Kaylin liked Rapinoe for Ballon d'Or as well. All right, I'll get a chance to ask her on Saturday when we do the Express preview. All right, let's move on to Neymar because he's always in the news for something. Whether it's, this gesture with the fans or whatever he did on the pitch with PSG. This time now it's the lawsuit. He's back in court suing Barcelona for $3.6 million in a loyalty bonus that he says he is earned. Barcelona is saying no. There was a countersuit a few months ago where Barcelona wanted money back from him. This is getting to be a mess. What's going on with this Neymar situation?
So this is back in the news because Neymar's dad went on Spanish radio this week to basically claim that they were adding on to a previous lawsuit. So people are reporting this as if it's a second lawsuit. It's sort of an addition to the first lawsuit, which was for over close to $50 million. Neymar was claiming from a signing bonus when he joined Barcelona that he said Barca president Josep Bartomeu acted in bad faith. They didn't give him that money. Now they're also claiming that he's owed 3.5 million euros, something like $4 million in salary from that last season as well. So it's sort of the Neymar is kind of injecting this back into the conversation, which may be part of sort of a grander thing with Neymar trying to force his way out of Paris. The fact that this comes out immediately before the January transfer window is curious. We know that Neymar's dad is also like his publicist, his like main advisor.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not good to work with family. Sometimes you never know. It's weird.
It's come at a time when like Neymar is being booed by the home fans. He's being booed by the away fans. He's sort of had to embrace this villain role, which is why this silent celebration has come about. And I feel like ever since the World Cup, Neymar's been in this constant sort of image rehabilitation process, right?
Yeah.
I think the turning point, the point where it might have even gotten to him that his image wasn't sort of how he wanted to be seen by the world, was that meme that came about where like a coach would yell Neymar and all the kids would drop to the floor.
Yeah, that's gotta hurt.
That may have been an inflection point. But they say that, no publicity is bad publicity. There's a lot of bad publicity regarding Neymar of late for one of the best players on the planet, who is, by the way, even not at 100% right now, been a determining factor for PSG this season in limited time.
Yeah, and if he wants to go back to Barcelona, it's kind of strange that you would sue the club you want to go back to play for. I don't know.
Yeah, but that stuff gets sorted out. Like if they want him to play for them, they sort all that stuff out. It makes for great drama. It makes for great headlines.
Yeah, the players might not care, but don't the club directors don't they feel some type of way? Like, wait a minute, you suing us for money here? I mean, what's going on?
Mike Fuentes off mic chiming in with Charles Barkley, not a role model.
Not a role model.
Commercial.
It is a great. Yeah, that was a great. I agree with him. I don't think athletes should be role models. I mean, they're not the ones paying your bills and all that stuff. Oh, okay, let's get to the comments here. Get to some comments. Maria Teresa says Neymar Jr. suing Barca again. Really? Go and play and stop being a social media personality. That's kind of hard nowadays when you have like 50 million followers on Instagram and all that.
Unless you're Messi.
Yeah.
Then you just let everybody else do it for you.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
true.
In bad jeans.
Yep. Ryan Moran says, if Barca ever buy Neymar's services back, I'll vomit emoji. All right, there you go. That's
Get ready.
yeah, get ready, because you better have your Pepto-Bismol ready. Brad Friggin says he just needs to play. He does better when he's focused more in football. And he said football with Spanish style. I like that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brad. El Tani Morais says Neymar needs to go back to Santos. Santos, I don't know if they can afford him, because that's probably not. Yeah, bankrupt the whole club with the money.
So not going to happen, but we have seen some big names, albeit maybe some not so late in their career, right? Because Gabigol, who wasn't really, it wasn't working out for him in Europe, goes back to Flamengo and becomes the top scorer in the Brasileirão, winning a Brasileirão for Flamengo, and the top scorer in the Copa Libertadores, which we had here, which they won, beating River Plate, the defending champions. So it's not out of the question when you see guys like Rafinha, like Felipe Luis, although they're at the back end of their career, and guys like Gabigol sort of Dani Alves is back in Brazil, sort of rehabilitating their image. Neymar is obviously too good a player and performing at too high a level to do that, but from a purely image standpoint, it's not completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he could rehab his image there. That's for sure. All right.
Although, by the way, he left Santos with some issues as well.
Yeah.
There was a lawsuit involved there. Santos were claiming that there was money owed to them, so it's not like he's.
Yeah, everywhere he goes, it seems.
Bridges and he gets caught with the match.
Yeah, it seems to be a mess everywhere he goes. All right, let's get some more comments here because this is interesting here. It says Kenny Alhaj Sanat says no, he should have come this year. I don't think he's needed anymore in terms of Barcelona.
It wasn't really all his choice.
Right.
It's not like he was saying no at the end.
Right. Yeah, that's
so
for
we're
sure.
doing this now. We're doing the whole Neymar to Barcelona thing.
Yeah, of course they do.
Joshua Zell Singleton says, as much as I'd like to see MSN again, Fati is a good reason not to sign him again. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The rise of Ansu Fati essentially keeping Neymar away from Barcelona.
Let's keep them away from the same sentences for a while. Ansu Fati's a terrific player. By the way, he just got named to the Spanish under-21s.
Congrats for him.
So obviously they want to Spaniardize him as much as possible. It isn't official until he plays for the senior men's national team, but it does look to be headed that way.
Fatimir Alikaj, I hope I said that right. Fatimir Alikaj says Neymar must go home to Brazil. He is not the player he was introduced to the world. He can fit better in women's soccer team.
I don't know what that means.
Dang, that's rough. Okay. Y'all need to use prepositions. I'm just saying. Just saying. Oscar Ruiz, Neymar could have avoided all this drama if he would have stayed at Barcelona, talking about the first time, and not left to go to PSG. That's an interesting point, Oscar. That's an interesting point. What do you think about that?
Well, and reportedly, there were the messages once Neymar did leave. There was, some stuff you don't know how much to buy into it, but stuff surfaced in Barcelona-based media and Madrid-based media about Neymar being, regretting the fact that he had moved on from Barcelona and wanting to come back. It was the reason why all summer long we dealt with Neymar back to Barcelona rumors, and here we are doing it again right before the winter transfer window. He's not going to move in January.
He's not moving in January.
But there is a very good. Given how difficult this season has to be for him, just off the field. Again, it's not just that he goes to Lille and gets booed. He gets whistled at the Parc des Princes by the Paris fans. The Ultras claim that they would treat him with indifference, right? After really letting their opinions known in the very first home game for PSG this season. And yet, he's won games for them.
Yeah.
The other day when they beat Montpellier 3-1, it was him who in the 72nd minute of a 0-0 game away to Montpellier, who Paris should be dealing with handedly, he drew the second yellow card on a defender, scored on the ensuing free kick to dislodge the match, and then you got goals from Mauro Icardi and from Kylian Mbappe. But so far this season, after Angel Di Maria, I think the most important player for, nobody wants to say it, but it's been Neymar for PSG.
Yep, and if he can stay healthy this second half of the season, they're looking strong for the Champions League. They won the group with Real Madrid in it. So, they
always do well in the Champions League group stage, though. And we do this every year. They're a juggernaut because they are a juggernaut because they have incredible players. They do very, very well in the group stage. But there's still that, prove. And it's not that they can't, it's just that they've yet to prove that in those high pressure moments in the knockout stages, because their season, they were winning quadruples domestically. They were expected to win the Coupe de la Ligue and the Coupe de France, the Ligue 1 running away with it in March or April. And so because their entire season emotionally gets condensed down to win the Champions League or it's a failure, it's a huge sort of psychological hurdle to overcome in those big matches against very, very good teams like Barcelona, like a Manchester City, like a Juventus, who they might face in those late stages.
Yep, by PSG in the Champions League. That is funny. I just saw a comment there. Somebody saying PSG winning the Champions League, very funny, and then that laughing emojis.
They're the most talented team. They're the most talented team on the planet. They're more talented than Real Madrid. They're more talented. Well, maybe Barcelona because Messi skews things so much. And they've spent the last couple of summers adding $100 million player per. They're in the conversation, but there aren't many teams you can count that are more talented than PSG.
The weak point for me is Thomas Tuchel, the manager. I'm not sold on him as the manager. All right, let's get some more comments here. Raul Rodriguez says, Neymar is a great player. He's still needed at Barca. People need to understand MSN is still a force. Fati is for the future. Okay. I feel where you come from. Yep. You're right.
He's a teenager. By definition.
Yeah, he needs more time to develop, man. Give him not so much. Let's see. Mubarak Al-Dosari.
There are a few players who you see, jump in as a teenager and say, yeah, that guy needs to be contributing right away, right? Messi was one guy who, as a teenager, made his debut, scores immediately, and then every single game he showed you something where it's like, well, how is he doing it with this sort of consistency?
Yeah.
Those players don't come about very often. Even the really, really great ones take some time to develop. And so we've seen quite a few sort of Barcelona starlets break it onto the team, have the weight on their shoulders of being the next Messi, of providing that sort of consistency, which veterans could struggle to provide.
Oh yeah.
And you're asking it of teenagers. So yeah, I think it's prudent to say Ansu Fati is one for the future, even if he's giving you a goal here and there.
Yeah, and he scored in the Champions League in that big win against Inter as well. Youngest player. Mubarak Al-Dosari says Neymar is finally showing he is getting mature. Okay.
Who's this?
Mubarak Al-Dosari says Neymar is finally showing he's getting mature. All right.
Debatable.
He gave a penalty kick last game. Maybe this will attract other giant clubs. Well,
so Edinson Cavani, what he's talking about is there was a penalty kick, and Neymar spoke about this afterwards, where obviously there was that huge moment a couple seasons back where Neymar and Cavani were fighting over who gets to take the penalty. Dani Alves stepped in, took the ball, and gave it to Neymar. There's been that perceived friction with Cavani and Neymar.
Right.
And here you had Neymar sort of giving the penalty up. Got his picture moment, right? His precious moment, giving the ball to Cavani, who is by all likelihood gone this winter transfer window, if not in the summer.
Yeah,
and absolutely, Atletico Madrid could use him like right away.
Yeah, they have a good history, Atletico Madrid, with some of those older strikers, Falcao, Forlan, Kun Agüero. They have that history of those good strikers. All right, let's move on to the team that Neymar won a trouble with a couple of seasons ago, with Barcelona. They have a big game coming up ahead of the Clásico against Real Sociedad. 7 points back, but Sociedad, Churi Ordine in 4th place. This is going to be a very good game, and this is going to be a tough test for Barcelona on the road in San Sebastian.
This is an incredible weekend in La Liga, and I know all eyes are on the Clásico coming up on Wednesday. It's a postponed Clásico, so we've been waiting for it. But both Barca and Madrid get huge
Big
tests
games,
away from home, right? 4 days before the Clásico at the Camp Nou on Wednesday. You get Barcelona away to Real Sociedad. Anoeta, a difficult place for anybody to play, and Barca have had their struggles on the road.
Especially with the renovations they made to the stadium.
Which
Because remember, there was
brings
the fans closer.
They got rid of that Olympic track.
Yep.
The atmosphere there is incredible, and La Real have a good record
team.
at home. Barcelona less than stellar away from home, though I have a point on that in a moment. And you've got Real Madrid traveling to Valencia, which Mestalla is always a really difficult place to play. Dani Parejo always sort of lifts his game against Real Madrid, so that'll be tough for them. As far as the Barcelona struggle away from home narrative, which is true. I mean, you just look at the data, and they're not as good outside of the Camp Nou as they are at the Camp Nou. Obviously, everyone points to those big Champions League losses in Rome, in Liverpool.
Yeah.
But they started the season really poorly as well. Like, I think their first 4 games away from home, no wins.
Yeah, I think they had a draw at Osasuna or something like that.
There's one thing, though.
Yeah.
That was without the 6-time Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah.
That was without Lionel Messi in the starting lineup.
He changes things
because
just
he
a
came
little
off
bit,
the
yeah.
bench away to Granada when they lost that game 2-0. He got his very first start of the season, the game after that. And since Messi's been back, they've won all but one of their away games. The only exception was against Levante 3-1. So yeah, they are still a little bit more susceptible outside of the Camp Nou, but Barcelona right now are a juggernaut. And people don't want to give Ernesto Valverde credit, and I get it. It's not the most delightful brand of football
Right.
at times, but at times it is. That Luis Suarez goal gets remembered for the Suarez back heel, which was just spectacular. But the build-up to that play,
with the young
with
little
Messi
one
involved,
touch.
with De Jong
Yeah.
involved, with Sergio Roberto involved, was the sort of, champagne football that Barcelona fans have been screaming for. You may not be getting it as often as you like, but this looks like a team that is molding and heading into a good place.
Yeah, some Barca fans are saying they've been playing like box wine football, but that goal there was definitely champagne football. And look, they're still scoring a lot of goals. It's still entertaining. It just might not be, Pep Guardiola, Xavi, Iniesta entertaining. It's still entertaining. It's still scoring a lot of goals.
I'll say this about La Real. If you're not following Real Sociedad closely this season, then this is a really good opportunity to get a good look at them, because they've been arguably the most entertaining team in Spanish football this season. And you've heard about Martin Odegaard, obviously, because he's on loan from Real Madrid, and he is living up to the hype. He was living up to it last season at Vitesse. The Eredivisie, a different level from La Liga.
Right.
He has just blossomed beautifully at a very good, young, energetic Real Sociedad side who are refreshingly good under Imanol Alguacil. But he's not the only one, because Oyarzabal is still very much the leader of that team. They have what I believe is one of the best young midfielders in Spain, who unfortunately will be playing as a center back most likely in this game. Igor
Zubeldia?
Igor Zubeldia, who, in the absence of Illarramendi, was supposed to be the anchor to that midfield, but now they've got a couple of absences in defense. He's been slotted back to a center back, and he's been an excellent center back.
Yeah.
So we don't get to see him in his best position, but he still is able to distribute from the back, and that can cost Barcelona if they get caught too high up the pitch. He can drop those balls in.
Yeah, looking forward to that matchup here tomorrow here on beIN Sports, 9:50 a.m. Eastern, 6:50 a.m. Pacific on the network. All right, let's talk about Valencia, Real Madrid. We touched upon it a little bit. Barcelona traveling to take on Real Sociedad at the Anoeta. Mestalla, not an easy place to play for Real Madrid as well. That's going to be a difficult test for them also.
One last point, Barcelona may be getting, we don't have the active list yet, but they may be getting Jordi Alba and
that's
Semedo back.
huge.
Both have been practicing and could be cleared.
Yeah.
Not the same thing for Real Madrid. They still have some major absences. They're going to have some major absences for the Clásico on Wednesday as well. And so, like Barcelona going to Anoeta, they get a really tough road test before going to the Camp Nou on Wednesday. But they also seem to be, if not playing their best football, certainly the most competitive football. And I think the emergence of Federico Valverde has been sensational.
No relation by it. No relation. Ernesto and Fede not related.
Fede Valverde, who was already a standout when he went on loan to Deportivo La Coruña, is now, like Odegaard, really putting it together at a high level in La Liga. And I think his play, in some ways, explains how good Toni Kroos has been this season. Because for my money, Frankie de Jong and Toni Kroos have been the two best midfielders in Spain so far this season, the two best passers of the ball in Spain this season. And with Kroos, he's sort of been liberated a little bit from having to do some of the running for Luka Modric, who just doesn't cover as much ground as he used to. Now Valverde does that for him, and Kroos can just kind of play his game, pick out his passes. Those are the two guys I mentioned, De Jong and Kroos, who over 500 passes on the season, and they complete over 90% of them, which is just incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. This goes to show how skillful they are and how the understanding they have with their teammates as well. Real Madrid and Valencia, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific here on beIN Sports. All right, let's get some comments here. Let's see. Guerrito Amaya says, for Real Madrid is easy. Win and do not play Casemiro. I don't
One
know.
yellow card away from suspension.
One yellow
Casemiro.
card from suspension, yeah. But Valencia is not an easy team. You might need him against Los Che.
But if say you play him,
He gets the
it's a
yellow.
yellow and you lose, it's a total
A
disaster.
disaster,
If you
yeah.
don't play him, at least you have him for sure in the class.
And
Yeah.
Casemiro is not afraid to get stuck in.
Oh, yeah,
He
that's
does-
true.
he'll chop, yeah.
It's actually a little surprising he doesn't get sent off a little more often, more double yellows, because he does, you know,
Yeah.
as Diego Simeone likes to say, he plays at the legal limit of the laws of the game.
On the fringe.
Yeah,
On the fringe.
And so, yeah, if you play him, he's absolutely a risk to pick up a yellow card. But it's easier said than done when at a tough away game against a good Valencia midfield without the guy who does so much to protect that Real Madrid
Right,
backline.
right. That's going to be something to watch for in that game between Real Madrid and Valencia. We'll see. Even if Casemiro starts, we'll see. I call him Ryan De Jong. It's Ryan Moran.
By the way, it's very tight. Before we go to some of the comments, it's very tight in La Liga. Once you get past the top two, who have a game in hand and a little bit of a gap, I think only 1 point separates fourth from eighth. So when we talk about Real Sociedad in fourth, when you talk about Valencia, these teams are very, very much in the fight for the Champions League this season. And it's a lot less clear-cut this year who's going to be that fourth
Right.
team than it is in previous season. Atletico Madrid not part of it. They're all the way down in, I believe, seventh.
Right. We'll talk about Atleti in just a second here. We'll get to some of the comments. Ryan Moran says De Jong is revitalizing the method of pass and move. It's helping tremendously because it's encouraging others to step up. We have
Every bit as good as advertised.
Yep, Tereshuk Volodymyr.
Good job.
Yeah, that's
Tereshuk Volodymyr.
good job, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where that Russian came out there, but he says Valverde is just another yes man with no real vision. You gotta go easy on him, but they're playing well. Toreshek, they're playing well.
It just speaks to the expectation at Barcelona. It's not enough to win.
yeah.
It used to be that you didn't have to win. You just had to play pretty, right? That's
Right.
one of the reasons that Barcelona were such an endearing side for so long. Real Madrid were winning everything, and Barcelona just stuck to their philosophy. Well, they got a taste of winning. They've been the most successful Spanish club over the last decade and a half, save for those 3 Champions Leagues that Real Madrid won. And so now the expectation has gone from you don't have to win, you just have to play pretty, to you better win.
Win
and
and
if you
play
don't
pretty.
do it playing pretty, we're gonna compete.
Well, that's the standard they put it. Last comment here. Mohamed Bassam, Barca won't win, but Valencia will lose to Real because they played their first team midweek. I guess, yeah. Valencia getting through to the knockout stage of the Champions League.
All 7 Spanish clubs are through in the Champions League and the Europa League, including Getafe. Still
Yes,
alive.
congratulations to Getafe. Hey, that's why it's the best league in the world, La Liga. All right, don't forget that we got some great matchups. Dre, you talked about the La Liga games. Today you have Lille Montpellier, matchup of 2 teams trying to get into Champions League spots in Liga. Begins 2:30 p.m. Eastern here on beIN Sports Saturday. That fantastic triple header. We have Real Sociedad versus Barça, Athletic Club versus Eibar, a little mini Basque derby. Athletic Club, one of those teams in that 3 to 7 range. And then Atletico versus Osasuna at the Wanda. We'll see, can Atletico score some goals? That's been a big problem
You
for
know who's
them.
been scoring goals is Osasuna's Chimi Avila.
Yes.
Scored in 4 straight. He could make it 5 against Atletico.
One of the most charismatic players in La Liga. Then Sunday, we'll have Sevilla Villarreal. That should be a good game for Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. And then Valencia, Real Madrid. Our coverage begins at 12 noon Eastern on Sunday and 9:50 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. And then, of course, it all wraps up with the Soccer Extra on Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. Got to shout out all my West Coast heads. That does it for Sports Burst. We're going to go and watch these games because, man.
What a weekend.
Oh, man, it's going to be fantastic. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you all on Monday.